So can you tell me a little bit about the pain, the location of the pain that you're having?
It's constant.
Changes that happen as our bodies go through the natural aging process may also cause discomfort. To keep our backs healthy as we age, it's very important to have good posture, maintain a healthy weight, and to exercise regularly. And arch your back backwards. Does this make your pain worse? No.